Hi there, I'm Omid and I'm a solution architect at the Groupe La Centrale. And uh, we are the leader in automobile market in France, and we're an independent and expert team around to simplify the buy and sell process, sell experience for a customer like individual or professional. And this is actually our mission to do that in France. So today I'm talking about the meaningful of the events via standardization. We can deep dive into this topic and follow me just to understand what I mean by this title. So actually, Groupe La Centrale is a mix of three brands. La Centrale for old cars, and we have a newsletter, Cartesiac, and actually Promonov for new markets. So, side of branding, we're gonna dip into our talk today. Thanks being there, and let me start. So in distribution world, and for 2 decades, and actually, we're talking about distributed systems and distributed communication. In any technological evolution, we face some problem. We started by sync APIs, synchronous APIs, and this is or my example. And the simplest, understandable, comprehensive example that I share always. So we have order basket payment and delivery as well. So they're communicating all together. So the latency of the basket means the latency behind the order system, payment system, and waiting for delivery to acknowledge. So there are some problems here, but this can be get worse when we have some banking partner behind payment. Now we face the challenges. It's about 2 decades, and when this dependency grows, it's worse and worse. Async API, asynchronous communications, asynchronous APIs came into play to solve some of our problems. So we call just payment and acknowledge, and after a while, we get the response. Unfortunately, our system needs to acknowledge the success behind the payment acknowledge and payment response to the delivery system. Actually, in this example, the delivery by nature is asynchronous. We're not facing a huge impact, but we have as well the impact. So the challenge at the synchronous is asynchronous. At the left side, you see synchronous challenges, communication challenges. So in the synchronous, we had latency, reliability problems, software complexity was attached the business process to technical design. In asynchronous as well, we have challenges, communication complexity, orchestration. We face delays and discoverability and reverse dependencies that actually we have some kind of dependencies. So the common problem, chattiness and coupling. How we can solve it? We introduce event-driven design, and we could align these boxes in a meaningful manner and rely them in a central communication channel or event bus or individual that can be handled in a meaningful manner by and simple to govern. So we're not deeping dive in technical design today, but we can decouple these boxes and let them communicate asynchronously using the events. But what is an event? How event looks like? Events for me is an envelope. So simply you put your letter in an envelope and you put your address and your destination, expeditor and destination on your envelope. So this is an event. There's some context, metadata, and some details, business-centric these days. So we have event context, business context, and some overlap information. If we can keep this overlap information minimum, okay, it's a gain. It's not a problem. But when we dispatch everything in anywhere, so that can be hard to handle. So that's where we need to understand what is an envelope. It defines a standard. We define a standard using the envelope. We define a well-defined model, generic model that covers a variety of use cases in our business. It's a simple JSON object. We have event ID, we have source, we have type, we have time, we have some technical stuff, creation ID for the observability reasons, idempotency key for avoiding the application, and data schema that represent a URI to your, your event model. What you find in data part, and this data part in a business perspective is the most important part of an envelope. So, as I said, we attach the context to the envelope. Actually, there is an envelope exists, but actually without context, there is no envelope. So we can mix these two. So context is the metadata attached on the envelope. And inside your envelope, you find your business context. What we are trying to do, the observability, we need to observe our system. We rely on eventing. So we need to know how many events we produce, what kind of events we produce, how many events we consume, what kind of events we consume, what are the active versions of this event, what are the outdated versions that are no more used, but these are in our catalog. So when the boxes are limited, we can observe that there's no problem. Try going with your actual system. But when the system grows, we face the problems. And here, we cannot handle that. Because, when you cannot put in a standard, when your business grows, you face the problem. To be able to put a standard, we need to know the event. So I don't want to deep dive in all event kinds that you can find on the internet, but just say me notification event. I'm Omid and I did my talk. Integration event. I'm Omid and I did my talk in 7 December. Now at Apidays. And view event, kind of aggregated event. So I did my talk and API test on 7 December and with a sponsorship of X, Y, and all of the sponsors. So I just in the view event, aggregated event, give you more details to let the consumer be autonomous without need to interact with all other systems. Actually, the view events are for data lakes are really useful. Let's go and find some kind of complexities. The system grows, we talked about, and new services lead new events. Complexity of naming, overlap of naming, two services can have the same naming in the event. Complexity of versions, cross-service duplications, so somehow we can find some kind of business validation, business conditions, business implementation in both of services and multiple services. So yeah, actually in our business, and we handle the professional or an individual, we have some announcement kind of classified. We have for sure invoices, factors, and we have contracts, we have leads management, we have sales system, we have a vehicle system. So these are typically at high level kind of these, a small portion of our business. But when the system grows, we are facing some problem, actual problem. So we lead all these services behind us event boss. But the problem is how we can know what's happening behind the platformization process. We use highly platformization in these days to govern better our system, but we cannot put all the unmanageable implementation and design in the platform. So we need to have a more reliable, more achievable goal in the platform side. We need to put some standardization at the service side, application side. So we define the boundaries. So actually invoice and contract can live together, classified with another service, vehicles and search, based on your business, you can define your bounded context. Actually, I'm not the best guy to define bounded context, but the notion is kind of this presentation. So we decouple that, and now any bounded context can communicate with less presented events and in a more reliable and meaningful manner with the other parties. Unbounded context. When you have multiple services, you need to communicate via these events. So invoice requested, invoice scheduled, invoice created, invoice sent, and contract as well. A contract created, contract signed, contract suspended and deactivated. But are all these events meaningful to the whole system? Is a need to observe all these details. Actually, between invoice and contract, I can see the need for some of these event types. But actually, with other services, I can see one or two or three. So we go to the bounded context. So we represent a source. So this bounded context manage the professionals and the customers context. Behind that, we have contract signed, contract suspended, and invoice created. So what happened when we present an invoice sent is just between invoice and contract. So we define a bounded context that this bounded context helps us to eliminate the extra burden that we are creating by introducing new events. So all the previous slide keeps going inside this bounded context. So we need to document events. We need a versioning. We need a well-defined event model. We need to have the backward compatible events. We need a kind of event contracts or promises that an SLA, service level agreement, between the context. These documents, these contracts need to be testable, need to be source control, need to be part of your continuous integration. And you need to design for event filtering. So you can have a single boss. You can provide dispatch all these events via a single boss, event boss. But behind that, explicitly, you need, it's a mandatory design that your consumer at a given time knows their needs. And based on their needs, you need to define your contract. And based that enterprise needs, you need to define contract. And based that needs, they can filter and subscribe to the interested part of your events. Interesting the type of event that they're interested at. So we avoid to represent a huge distributed based on event. We avoid this burden, and in this way, we improve the communication between teams and service owners. So when we talk about owners, we talk about the different teams that they talk together, they brainstorm the new requirement, and we introduce the well-defined events to communicate. So the new event achieved, is it required? I don't know. So we present version 1 of contract created, version 1 on contract signed or contract suspended. And any subscriber needs its proper or multiple type of events. We need a schema directory, a schema directory, a directory of event models. The directory must be useful at build phase as well at runtime phase. We need to validate our events at both sides, consumer and producer. So we need to share this standard and version models, version documents, a specification of your events. And we need to manage events and as well their version lifecycle. We can produce based on this directory to detect backward incompatibilities and raise the real-time alarms based on incompatibilities. So this is a cross-cutting concern covers runtime and build phase. It's hard to manage documentation. So relying, using a standard like async API that is well known, well integrated with lots of tooling. They provide lots of CLI and tooling that helps you in the development phase and the validation phase. So, and this really async API, in my experience, simplified my validation phase. It's like Swagger or Open API. It's a YAML or JSON standard that can be done easily through async API studios, covers lots of eventing protocols, so you can adapt it easily. Maintaining the standard is hard, as I said, and we could document till now, but we couldn't define our standard. But why we need a standard and host in your organization? Why you want to waste the time to define a standard? There are kind of a standard like code event specification that covers a lot. They're extensible. We avoid the forgettable update that happen, hard to maintain, outdated documentation, and finally, we avoid designing a distributed event mess. And in my experience, I rely on telemetry and cloud events a lot. I design my telemetry validation and pushing all the data to my observability system via sidecars, like kind of extensions that is decoupled from or application or container. I try to keep the software out of details of the governance, and this way I can enrich my governance needs, my high-level enterprise needs without impacting the software development teams. And I just cover the observability, and my direction is toward platformization and have reliable and long life platform. So here is simple software system relies on a container and extension asynchronously touch it and feed my observability system. And thanks being here, and I hope you enjoyed this talk. I actually could push this direction in the actual enterprise Groupe La Centrale that I'm working, and in the previous ones. And I can trust you if you can control and you can do it well. It's a successor to your business and to your governance direction. Thanks and have a good day.